Hey guys, Julie here. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing 3 simple Halloween treats. My daughter and I made festive popcorn, cheesy ghosts, and mummy brownies. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. I am going to be using a couple of these little Halloween treat bags that I picked up from the Dollar Tree. And to begin, I am just going to cut out the little images. So I'm going to cut out the candy corn in this bag, and I'm going to cut out the little ghosts in the other bag. Now, you're just going to cut out as many as you want for this project. We are basically going to be making little, like, votive holders. I believe for this one I used about 17 of these little candy corns. Now, I also picked up one of these Dollar Tree glass containers, and I am going to just be using some of the Mod Podge I have, and I'm simply going to Mod Podge these little candy corns onto the glass votive. Now, I also took one of these glass candle holders and I gave it 2 coats of some black spray paint. And all I'm going to do is glue the glass votive holder onto the candlestick holder. And I just used some hot glue. However, E6000 is probably a more permanent choice. And here's how the two look. I ended up adding some of the glass black rocks to the bottom of it and then put 2 little votive candles inside of it. The first treat we made was the festive popcorn in a pan. And once it's melted, we will put 3 cups of mini marshmallows in here and melt it. And as soon as the last marshmallow is melted, we need to quickly pour it over the popcorn. And it's like around 10 cups of popcorn.
It's very good.
So it's starting to melt.
Looks very delicious. Stop recording me now.
And then after we pour it in here, most of it at least, then we're going to put it on a foil covered baking sheet.
Okay, so we're having a bit of a trouble with stirring this.
Ouch, and it's hot.
So, yeah. Now we're pouring it onto that thing. This is very good.
Okay, so that was not the easiest thing to do. It's like making Rice Krispie treats. It's kind of like messy. But after you have it laid out on a pan, then you can sprinkle it with M&Ms or whatever you would like. And we're also going to do sprinkles.
These are not sticking very
Now,
well.
we were trying to find like purple, green, and blue to make it really festive, but we couldn't find that. I would put more.
More like these?
Mm-hmm. For the next DIY, I'm using this wooden jack-o'-lantern and a piece of black cardstock, or you could use construction paper, which I am going to trace and then cut out to be the back for this pumpkin. Now, before I attach the black paper, I do want to paint the pumpkin and the base. So I'm going to paint the base black and I'm going to paint the pumpkin orange. Now once the paint is dry, I am just going to glue the cardstock onto the back of the jack-o'-lantern, and I'm honestly just using a glue stick. Next, I am going to be taking this white chalk marker and I'm going to add stitch marks all the way around the pumpkin and as well as around his face to give it more of a dimensional look. Lastly, I'm going to add a little piece of ribbon to just up the cuteness of this little pumpkin. For the next DIY, I picked up this wooden boo sign, and I'm going to be using some different paint. I'm going to use orange for the B and the bottom O. I'm going to use white for the middle O, and then just some black for the exclamation point. Now, I'm also going to be removing the twine hanger because I am going to be using a different hanger, but if you were going to leave the hanger that's on there, you're going to want to tape it to the back so that you don't get paint on it. Now, the B and the O took a lot of paint. The white and the black only took 2 coats, but we're going to play a little guessing game and see if you can guess how many coats of orange paint it took to get a solid coverage on this boo sign. So at this point, pause the video, put a number down in the comments letting me know what your guess is for how many coats of paint this took. And now I'm going to tell you, it took 6 solid coats of paint to cover this board. I think it's, I don't know why actually. It's kind of like cardboard, and for some reason with this orange it just did not, it was just soaking up the paint and did not give good coverage. But once it's all dry, I'm going to use the white chalk marker and I'm going to add stitch marks around the exclamation point. And then I'm going to take a Sharpie black paint marker and I'm going to be adding stripes to the middle O. Now I want this piece to look hand painted, so I am not measuring the distance between the stripes. I am just eyeballing it and I'm not taping it off to get perfectly straight lines. And for the bottom O, I am just going to be adding some black circles. And then for the B, I'm going to be doing like a chevron type pattern. It almost reminds me a little bit of Charlie Brown. I don't know if it's because it's the orange and the black, but it makes me think of Charlie Brown. Now for the hanger, I am just going to hot glue some of this black ribbon to the back. Now I love how this sign looks as is, but it would also be super cute if you added it to the center of a wreath. For the second treat for the mummy brownies, you're going to want brownies that have already been cooled. Boiler going because we're going to melt some white chocolate. And we are going to be using brownies. We have a pan of brownies over here.
Which I made.
Which Gracie did make.
Have some in there.
I'd give it another minute. So the white chocolate is melted, and now we're going to put it into a plastic bag. Can you hold this? Of course. Now, this is a simple way to add your own touch to some of the Dollar Tree foam pumpkins that they have. I picked up this Chanel yarn and this foam pumpkin, and I'm just going to disassemble the pumpkin, but I do want to keep the stem. So I did give the stem a couple coats of white paint, and while it's drying, I am going to wrap the pumpkin in the yarn. And I'm going to be going in a crisscross pattern around the pumpkin, being sure to cover all of the white. Now, I could have spray painted the foam black so that I wouldn't have had to worry about the white showing through, but in all reality, it was just not needed. If you wrap it enough, it will give full coverage and you won't see any of the white. Now that the stem is dry, I'm just going to use some glue. I tried just spraying it with this adhesive spray from the Dollar Tree, but it was like clogged or something. So I ended up pouring a little bit on the plate and just painting it on. And then I'm going to add some silver glitter because this stem looks really cool as it pops against the black. Now, I recommend not cutting the yarn until after you have put the stem back in, poked it back in, because you can actually wrap the yarn around the stem a little bit, and then once it's pushed back into the pumpkin, it actually will secure the end of the yarn. Using a permanent marker. These would be really cute for a class party or to throw in a lunchbox or even an after-school snack. Now for the next DIY, I'll be using 3 of these glass bottles. I believe they are from the summer line at Dollar Tree, but I found a whole bunch of them in the craft aisle. There must have just been leftovers that did not sell, and I thought that they'd be perfect for this. So I removed the words by using just some Gooby Gone and a razor blade. And then I just took 3 different colors of paint. I used like a metallic gold color, a sage green, and a red, but you're gonna see that I ended up switching out the red. I did not like the way that the red looked, and I decided to change it to orange. Then to each color, I'm adding a little bit of Mod Podge, and then I also add some water. And the amount of water you add is based on the end result you want. So less water is needed for less of a translucent look. Like if you want to have more of a solid look inside your glass jar. And then the more water you add will give it a more of a translucent look. And then you just mix it really well. Then you're just going to pour the paints into each jar, and you're going to spin the bottle around to coat the inside. Then I just let them sit on a paper towel, and I moved it a couple of times, but you're going to see that a lot of the paint just drips out of the bottle. And again, this is where the water comes into play based on the effect you're going to get. So you can see here, this is a very translucent bottle because I used a little bit more water. And I did let these dry completely overnight, and this is how they look after they're dry. And I found this free printable online, which I will link down below for you. And I am just going to cut out the bottom labels because they are the perfect size for this DIY, and I'm going to Mod Podge them onto the bottles. Then I'm going to replace the corks back on the bottles, and I'm going to take the twine that was already, like this already came perfectly cut to the right size, and I am just going to tie it in a bow back onto the neck of the bottle.